That's even more useless than I realized. I mean, the compiler.
Yeah, it's very, that doesn't seem practical.
No, I was totally unaware of the issue with randomness, and yeah, it's absolutely useless. Which is the most well, interesting bit of information to get from today's today's meeting for me.
I have a question though about the so the simulation proof, right? So I don't quite understand how rewinding works or why it is allowed to rewind the adversary they simulate. Right?
So it's like you assume that there exists some adversary which is able to do something.
Yeah.
And you catch this guy, so you own him, you have him in the box. I mean, it's a program, right? So you can do arbitrary things with this program. So what you want to do is you want to use this adversary, this program, to achieve something which you believe should not be possible to achieve. So, like the general construction of the proof is that assuming that there exists adversary which is able to do something, based on this adversary, you are, for example, able to do something with Diffie-Hellman assumption, which should not be possible to do. So you take this adversary, and as it's a program, you run it on your virtual machine, and well, then you can do whatever you want with him. In particular, you may rewind him, and yeah, it's useful. Okay, I know. In general, it would be nice to see some talk on generally this simulation techniques.
Yeah.
Although I mean, formally they are very complex. Probably the talks. I think there is one talk by Omer. He mentioned that it's like 40 minutes long. And I'd assume that it gives mostly intuitions, as the technicalities are very well
technical.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so you can basically give the adversary like a message, and then if it was like the wrong message you gave, you can rewind and sort of give it another message.
Yes,
something
or for
like
example,
that, so it continues,
you may wait until he reveals what he has committed to.
Okay.
And then you may rewind, and then you may base your message on the reveal of the commitment, which is what I mean. So like you might have construct a run where you base your message on the commitment reveal, which didn't happen yet, by using this rewinding trick.
Okay, because I always thought that if you simulate it, you can inspect the internals of the adversary, so you can like see what they committed to.
You cannot inspect internals, but you can wait until he reveals.
Yeah. But I mean, and then on the same note, but you know the inputs of the adversary, or like, or not?
No.
Okay.
I mean, you may use him and input him and inputs you want probably, but in the experiment you want to let's say this thought experiment which you are constructing should work that you want to essentially break something. For example, Diffie-Hellman assumption. So you want to feed him with inputs which are generated for some other protocol. All right. Although I do not feel like a super expert in this simulation techniques. I haven't looked into them for over a year now, I think. So I definitely could use a refresher.
Yeah, and then UC security. So cannot rewind, right? So,
Yes,
so I guess that's because the environment might you might influence the environment or something, or what's the?
I don't. I like. There was a time in my life when I understood the general framework for the simulation techniques. Although there were, even at that time, I did not fully understand UC security, and this is significantly more complex. There is this epic tutorial by Ran Canetti, and I mean, well, it's a serious thing.
Yeah, I think it took me. So I read the 100-page manuscript. It took me a week, but I still don't understand it fully.
The one by Lindell or by Canetti?
By Canetti.
There is one also 100-pager by Lindell, and it doesn't cover UC security, and it's still pretty complex, but significantly simpler. I may post a link to it. It's called How to Simulate It. And it's oh no, it's not. It's 62 pages. So, but it's pretty dense. I mean, you'll see what I mean. Posted it in the MPC study group.
Nice.
So it goes through several examples, starting I think with zero knowledge, which is significantly simpler.
Yeah, should read.
Yeah, I think like before even approaching Canetti, I mean, it's nice to have a pretty thorough understanding of this one, as it's kind of a preliminary, I guess. Actually, I could use, as I said, refresher. So as we kind of agreed on this movie sessions, we could watch something on simulation framework, either this talk by Omer or sure Yehuda Linder has some talks on that as well. For example, this talk today, it kind of assumed that you are, I mean, you at least have a rough understanding of the simulation techniques.
Yeah, I wonder if yeah, I'm sure we can find something. So but Lindell is always it's a good. He's smart.
Yeah, definitely, he's one of the guys who understand this this whole area.
All right. Any other questions? Maybe anyone? So I wonder how long it would take to just do this on one garbled gate. If the GMW compiler.
Still, I mean, probably it's possible, although it's by far not the not worth it.
Yeah. Anyways, I found it interesting how, and I think Damien said it in his presentation. That it's, I mean, we like the other new protocols that we have. Anyways, they all start with the semi-honest, and then we just try to construct a zero-knowledge proof that the protocol was executed correctly, oftentimes. So
yeah,
it's an interesting pattern.
For what he said, I assume that it's part of some kind of MPC workshops or something like that. He said later about this cut and choose technique, and well, it sounds like it's probably the state of the art still. So doing several circuits and checking some majority of them and leaving the rest still doesn't sound very optimal, but way better than the compiler. Okay, I don't have too much comments about the talk today, I guess. I mean, it was, I guess, too theoretical for my taste. I mean, the short information, it's useless.
Yeah, but so this is only useful in I mean, it uses secure broadcast, and I think so I think I read that you can only use the compiler in honest majority. Is that because the secure broadcast is only realizable in honest majority, or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's the case. So the point is that there needs to be some kind of consensus of which messages were sent at which time. So this is for the so the transcript is well defined for each of the parties. And if you don't have honest majority, then consensus is not possible. And well, that's the reason you cannot do that.
Okay, and then the two-party case still works because you don't need the secure broadcast, even though like you wouldn't have a majority, right? So interesting.
Again, you can use like a blockchain as a broadcast channel here, but it's very costly. I mean, you need to put everything there.
I mean, maybe there is, yeah, it depends on the definition of security, probably. If there is this unanimous abort, then probably you need honest majority, but there are weaker definitions where you can kind of use a weaker broadcast primitive, and then I guess the compiler still works even in, yeah, I don't know, not sure. I mean, the broadcast could be something like, yeah, round by round, you all say whether you agree that this set of messages were sent, and you ask each party whether it agrees or not. And yeah, if all parties agree, then you continue, and if not, then you just abort. I guess it's fine. You can do this.
But it may happen that some of the parties, honest parties, will abort while the others will continue, right?
Yeah. So that's the issue with this unanimous abort, I guess. But yeah, these are subtleties, I think. There is always, yeah, like this honest majority is a very strange setting, actually. Not necessarily practical, I would say. It's very strange, and there are like very strange phenomena happening.
I mean, if you do not want to use outside broadcast channel, then it's very weird.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. Yeah, but in general, I mean, Yeah, maybe you can imagine settings where this would be useful, but yeah, again, without an external kind of a control or external some external system which controls this computation, I don't see how this would make sense.
But in practice, it's not a problem to have this external system. Like blockchain is external system. The problem is that it's very costly. I mean, you optimally would like to publish only like one hash there every now and then, instead of publishing every message. But that sounds like it could work. So every round, this hash of all the messages in this round you publish on the blockchain. And then if anyone doesn't agree, you start the dispute. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, I don't like this dishonest majority. This is my... I know, I just don't like it. We should be always optimistic about participants. If the majority is dishonest, then we cannot do much.
But what what are the guarantees of dishonest majority in like broadcast? You just abort if like the majority tries to cheat, or
no, the problem is that you cannot have. I mean, you can have non-unanimous abort among honest nodes.
Okay.
So like the adversary may, let's say that there are two honest nodes, so adversary may trick one of them to think that protocol has been aborted, and the other one will continue.
Yeah, and then this is also, if you want something like the issue in practice would be that one guy says, okay, I abort, and well, if this guy could be just dishonest and trying to abort every single round, and that could be his goal, and you cannot really check whether his abort was justified or not. Yeah, that's the issue of dishonest majority. You cannot really do that. You can always say I abort, and you can ask him why. Well, yeah, this thing happened, and you cannot really verify that.
And then liveness, is that to up to 1/3, or is it up to half?
Yeah, you can do 1/2, because the reason is that here you always assume synchronous communication in this kind of protocols, and this 1/3 shows up if you talk about asynchrony in consensus protocols,
or partial synchrony.
Yeah, but there is some asynchrony flavor. So 1/2 is enough, although in fact it is much harder to get like protocols which have guaranteed output delivery under 1/2 honest participation than under like 2/3. So 2/3 is easier, or at least the protocols are simpler for 2/3 honest when compared to 1/2. And I don't know if there's a gap, but I think it's probably, in theory, it's probably even more efficient. Like the best protocol for 2/3 is probably more efficient than the best protocol for 1/2. I mean, okay. This I'm not 100% sure, but I would not be surprised if this was the case, or at least if this was the case in practice, because there's always some overhead. There's always some overhead in closing the gap.
Yeah, I know hot stuff is linear, right? The hot stuff, I think.
Yeah, but that's for consensus, right? So Yeah, that's slightly different.
When it comes to consensus, we usually distinguish between probabilistic and deterministic protocols. As you mentioned, the deterministic output of the protocol can be achieved only in certain types of protocols and certain types of communications. And these communications are usually qualified as BFT sort of communications, BFT protocols, and they require 3K plus 1 nodes participating, where K is number of malicious nodes. And when it comes to probabilistic protocols, indeed, 1/2 is enough. Well, 1/2 plus 1, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But the outcome is probabilistic, so that it can be just 1/2 of malicious nodes.
So actually, what you are saying is correct in the asynchronous case or partially synchronous case, that 1/3 is one third malicious is optimal, but in the synchronous case, under the BFT assumption, you can do with 1/2. So this 1/3 is only for asynchronous. So it depends on the network. You can do synchronous consensus when there are 2 K plus 1 nodes and K malicious.
Well, asynchronous consensus is more like a theoretical term, because basically none of existing systems wants to wait forever.
Bitcoin is synchronous consensus.
Excuse me?
Bitcoin is using synchronous consensus.
Synchronous, not asynchronous.
Synchronous, yeah, and they have like they tolerate up to 50% malicious nodes.
That's probabilistic synchronous consensus. Yeah. And when we start dreaming about asynchronous thing, we need to face the problem of the protocol never being finished.
No, that's not correct, actually.
No?
So there are many people who somehow confuse the FLP theorem and don't know what does it say. So it doesn't say it will not finish. It says that there is no deterministic protocol that works that gives you consensus in all the runs.
Yeah, okay.
But you can easily go around it by using a probabilistic consensus protocol. But it doesn't have anything to do with probabilistic finality. It's a different concept.
The finality is final, although the time to finality is probabilistic. So you can say that, for example, you will have expected time to finality, either constant or something else. But if it gets final, it's final, like in a non-probabilistic sense.
So would you say that Bitcoin has probabilistic finality, or how do you define it? Or okay,
there is no definition for that, because that's the issue. But
I think there's people disagree on it. I think
doesn't obey the definition for non-probabilistic finality, so it's weaker in some way. And it's, I would say, synchronous. I mean, it assumes that there is this round of 10 minutes and everyone will definitely, it's enough for everyone to get the messages. Okay, so do we want to go into this simulation techniques next week?
Yeah, I think we finished chapter something now.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's great.
Kind of like we finished this book, I'd say. I mean, there are some chapters related to specifics on optimization, although I don't think you gain all that much using it.
I think maybe the free XOR I would like to look at some point.
Okay, perhaps.
because that seemed to pop up in speeds and
Indeed,
the other
indeed.
one. But then oblivious data structures maybe. Yeah, maybe as well. I mean, it's maybe.
And we could also find like some structured YouTube list of lectures. I think I've seen one a while ago. So instead of looking a specific lecture for each of the topics in our structured book, we could have just a structured YouTube thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Look,
Especially today he was referencing
yeah, for
the
example,
morning's lecture. So
indeed. So we'll avoid things like that. Also, he was kind of assuming that everyone knows something we didn't talk about really, which is this whole simulation concept.
yeah. Yep. That's a good idea. I mean, maybe the bio lectures, so we can. They're quite good. The ones we just saw.
I think so. Yeah. Sounds
And
good.
and also we could. I'm for simulation next week as well.
Okay. So where is this? I think Omar posted link once of his talk on simulation. I haven't seen it, but it could be this one, for example.
Yeah.
All right. So do we want